Do you think the noise over here with this new construction of our international headquarters is going to be disturbing us?
No, we just got to talk through it. Just got to go through it.
That sounded like something went through us.
Every time that happens, if you just make
But you know what that is?
This might be distracting.
That is the sound of
Progress.
progress and
Yeah.
and new things occurring for the
Just make sure we're
for who we are.
I know.
Who are we?
We're not progressives, although we make progress. Right? Or maybe we are progressives because we make progress. We're so confusing. Can you be progressive and not believe anything that the
No,
self-described progressives believe?
If you're considered, and what a change in
Not really.
in names. Back in the day, progressives were considered liberal, and I can remember in 1988, I think it was,
Okay.
Governor Dukakis ran against Vice President George H.W. Bush.
I was a kid and I just remember him in a tank
Well,
with a
that-
funny looking face.
Well, that's
And I think that was like, from what I heard, that's the
That's-
downfall
That
of
was
the
that was the
Dukakis.
major downfall of Dukakis. Is that little brain? It had his little head like this in this massive tank.
But it's funny.
It looked pretty bad.
He looked like a loony.
But at the time, I can remember Vice President Bush got him labeled as liberal.
Okay.
And that really pushed it over the edge. And then you put him in that big tank, and that really ended it.
But what?
But so the word liberal was
Yeah, that's
was
right.
bad.
Oh, okay.
That indicated that basically you're a communist.
Really?
And liberal was just associated with the
Because liberal would seem to think liberty.
no liberal at the time meant more of a socialist stance, more taxes, more government control.
But that's the opposite of liberty.
Well, that is the opposite of liberty, which has nothing to do with liberal.
So what is okay.
Liberal meant, I would assume, liberal at the time meant a little more at ease with
Taking somebody else?
taking out everybody's money. And after that
Whoa.
election in '88, the word liberal by the liberals was removed, and they started calling themselves progressives. And I think that they started calling themselves progressive because the word liberal had become such a it was people would recognize. I'm not going to vote for a liberal.
Yeah.
But how do you turn down the word progressive? Oh, I think progressive is that's a lot easier to
Somebody
absorb.
explained it to me this way: if you are if you're in a car and you're at the edge of a cliff and you progress further, that's
You
actually
fall off the cliff.
It's actually not a good thing.
It's not a good thing. But see, that's looking at progressivism as in its appropriate.
So because anything progressive isn't always a good thing, because it seems like this is where it gets confusing because all these words could mean something for a period of time, and then society decides, we're going to change the meaning collectively. They just kind of, this is the new hit word we're going to go with. I know, like in the business world, they would use little catchphrases yearly. Like the new one for a while was, we're gonna get a high level view. That just means like that's usually the executive team doing stuff that they. Maybe that's a golf tournament. Maybe that's a high level view of the company. But so liberal, I thought was liberty, and because you want to liberate yourself from the oppression. Well, and I've heard a lot about when you start throwing the oppressive word around. You you're either oppressed or the oppressor. Like there's no, you can't be an oppressor and be oppressed at one point of your life.
To be oppressed, are you compressed?
Maybe. But you could also be oppressed and an oppressor in your lifetime. Don't you think? Or am I making that up?
No,
Maybe you
I
can't.
can see that if you
live long enough.
Yeah, I guess if you live long enough, and or you don't have the strength in your beliefs, I guess you can waver and become one way over the other. I don't know.
Well, because that's the thing.
I've been pretty conservative my entire life.
Yeah.
I mean, really my whole life.
I would say that I have not. Probably.
Well, I would say that's true for you.
Yeah. I think that I
You
grew
evolved.
up. I progressed. Maybe.
Oh, gross! Oh, gross! It's
No, I got to where I was, I guess, what do you call that? Apolitical? When I was young, I remember,
you just didn't care.
no, I remember thinking, and this might have been from all the people around me that just said things, that politicians in general, for the most part, only told people what they wanted to hear to get votes.
Well, that's true today.
Yeah, well, and it's true. And you're running for office in middle school, like, or your class president. I mean, it's usually a popularity contest, kind of.
Yeah.
So like it seems like politics outside of high school, and even probably in college. I guess it kind of goes into college, but now people make careers out of popularity contests. So it seems real narrow-minded, surface and superficial.
Well, I think you hit on a real good subject, and that is the fact that there are individuals that once they get into politics, it's their career.
Yeah.
And I don't believe our founders really thought that politics was going to be a career for anybody. I don't think that they meant for them to have salaries that would be so supportive that that would become the career.
But don't you think like some of the politicians even back then, and the founders, some of them were power hungry?
Oh, I would imagine if you're seeking the office of President of the United States, you are power hungry.
Yeah.
I think if you're looking to be a senator for a state, you're power hungry. But I do believe that there are those, and unfortunately I think they're limited, who actually go into politics to do something for the public good and then get on with it and go back to their private life. And nowadays that's not the path that most politicians do. That's the reason, for example, what is that? The two congressmen that Kirk Gowdy, is that his name, from South Carolina, and there was another from Utah, really good Republican congressmen, and they very conservative, very vocal, and very interested in the rights of the individual and limited government. And then after a number of terms, I think they served 3 terms each, I forgot, they retired.
So my question is, what do you do for a living if you are a senator or a congressman? Is that what you do for a living?
That's what they're doing for a living.
Or do you have another job or another business that you're running? I mean, I know that from what I've heard, there's a bunch of people that just got in trouble for insider trading during the pandemic. Which it seems like if you're in a position, there might have been people in the Fed too, which is even more deviant.
The swamp. The swamp.
Yeah,
The people that are not politicians but work in the government,
because when you grow the government and then the government doesn't make anything.
No, the government is a taker.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes I feel disheartened because I feel like we've gotten to a point where it's what are you trying to save, really?
Save who?
What are you trying to save?
Oh, say or save?
Save.
Save,
You know, because you look at your founding documents. We're so far from that. And coming from somebody who has been apolitical their whole life, and then realized younger in my life, I sided with a lot of my feelings and emotions, and I thought, yeah, I mean they've got everything, and like they should share a little bit with these people that don't have anything. And but then I realized, well, there might be a reason why some people don't have anything. Sometimes there's no reason why people don't have anything, but everybody's got the opportunity. Or
As I grew up, I was just the opposite. I saw that what success could bring to you, and so I set a path that would allow me to hopefully achieve that success, which I think I did.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that as I say, I have forever been a conservative individual.
Well, that emotional stuff was just envy.
Yeah.
And that's not something that is a good thing. Because you shouldn't be envious of somebody. You should be proud of their success.
Proud of their success.
And
that's the way I want to emulate that.
Right. And so I didn't learn that till later in life. That's why I got such a late start.
But at least you got into it. You finally realized what
Yeah.
America is supposed to be.
I know. And
That's
then
good.
once I started paying attention, I was like, holy crap, wait, we've gone
We've gone this far left.
We've gone too far, and now it's harder. I can't say that it's harder for everybody to make it in America. I don't, because I don't have anything to compare it to. You know what I'm saying?
Well, if you haven't been to other nations and kind of see how they exist.
Right.
For example, was it yesterday? Or the day before, they were showing these 14,000 people they have underneath the bridge or underneath the interstate highway in Del Rio, Texas. And I think the bulk of them originated from Haiti. And so they have all these Haitians that have
Yeah, look
escaped.
at my.
The government, now the news media has...
I think you got
has
to
it-
get on a boat from Haiti.
Well, you do.
Okay.
And that's what's kind of crazy about it. They're making, the news media is making a big deal about these 14,000 people underneath the bridge. I can't imagine that existence. And they claim that these people came from Haiti. That's not true. They may have originated in Haiti, but the bulk of those 14,000 people have lived for years in places like Venezuela, Brazil, Colombia, and they've been trying to make a living of some sort, I guess, in those countries. It hadn't worked for them.
Yeah.
So Joe Biden opens up the border, and they decided, hey, this is not so great down here in South America. Let me go to America. And now we get this influx of these Haitians, for example, that are not coming from Haiti. They have spent years in South America, and it hasn't worked for them. So they're going to go say, well, I'll get into America. I can get there.
Yeah.
And so they did. And the same thing.
Why is everybody trying to come here if it's such a bad place to be?
Well, the
I know
only people
that's an ignorant argument, but I mean,
the only people that believe
some
this is a
truth to it.
bad place to be are the progressives, are the liberals. They think that we're a bad group of people.
But aren't they usually the really wealthy ruling class?
Well, they make up a good portion of it, and
I
it's
don't
funny
know.
you say that. Here, Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and a portion of Congress and Senate want to raise taxes. Raise taxes significantly,
Yeah.
and they want to spend close to $5 trillion, which is unbelievable. And I kind of looked at something. I was thinking that there are I think it's 1.6 million people in the United States, which is out of 330 million people. 1.6 million in that estimate are considered in the top 1%. And
Okay.
and they're considering really the top 1%. I think the average income that they're now considering as being part of the top 1% is like $700,000 a year, which is, that's pretty good money.
Heck yeah, it is.
And
I mean,
and
I don't know how much you're making, but I'm not even close to that.
But if you
It's not pretty good money.
It's
you
really
could
good
have
money.
a McMansion down the street.
Really could.
You could.
I'd probably
If
take
you're
a
a good-
reduction in pay for that, but that's
If you,
okay.
if you were a good steward of $700,000 a year,
You
I couldn't even.
probably do pretty good. So imagine
I
this.
know. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm getting
No,
stuck
no.
on that
All right.
because that's what I'm saying. Like that, you got that much. That's a lot.
That's
Not
a lot.
that, and
And they earn it.
I don't fault them for
I don't
it.
fault them for it at all.
In fact, I wish they would teach a course on how to do it,
That's-
and then I would probably do it if it was free, but I wouldn't pay for the course.
But usually, either a
That's
lot
the
of it's
problem.
inherited, or a lot of it is a lot of hard work.
Man, okay,
A lot
so
of hard work.
I
You got to
want
concentrate
you to
about that.
keep going your point,
So,
but I want to
anyway,
get back to the
The,
inheritance.
the 1.6 million people in the United States that supposedly are in this top 1%,
Yeah.
if we taxed and took 100% of their income,
Okay.
you would, if they want to spend $5 trillion, and if you took every dime that the top 1% had,
Yeah.
you'd only probably get in the neighborhood of about $1.5 trillion.
Yeah.
And that's if you took every dime that they had.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
But they're not planning on that.
Well, no.
Yeah.
All the tax increases are all going to impact everybody.
Yeah.
You and me and the lower income strata are the ones that are going to be hit the hardest because
No.
not directly by taxes, but by increases in prices of things because businesses and individuals who are in a position to do so will raise their prices to cover their cost. And so the prices that everybody is going to be experiencing over the next few years, if this $5 trillion spending spree takes place, is going to be massive in regards to inflation and the taxes that everyone will have to pay in sales tax and use tax and gas tax. And
So we're September 20th, 2021, and price of milk is right under $5 a gallon. I think. Right?
I never look at the price of milk because I love milk,
Yeah.
and I'm going to buy it whatever the cost is. So I don't know what it is.
But if it got to $10 a gallon, you'd just be like, well, it's really expensive because what I've heard when I was little was that the price of milk when that goes up because that affects everybody. So, and we've got 3 kids, so we go through milk like we need a cow, but.
I'll drink a couple gallons a week. Me.
Really?
Yeah.
It's good for your bones.
I got big bones. I've known to be big boned.
Okay. All right. Let's go back to
Not to be confused.
the what's it called? The inheritance.
Oh, inheritance. Yes. Let's
Yeah.
go back to inheritance.
So because like you said that it's really easy for people that don't have to look at those people that have and figure out a way to get what they have rather than maybe working hard all their life only to never attain what they have. I feel like us people, sometimes
There's nothing wrong with it, though.
we put our focus on, and that's one of the things that's why envy's not good because you're focusing on something,
If you worked hard your entire life,
and you didn't end up
and you
making
didn't make
$700.
$750,000 a year, but you still worked hard in life and you had a great life and you had a good family and all that. That's okay.
I know, but I can't say these politicians, but people in general will look at the haves and just in anger, and that's not something new. That's been around.
It's been around since time began.
Right, and
You're the king? I don't like that.
right, and so this is the first. I don't know. It seems like the first experiment where it was governed by the people, and like you said, the people weren't supposed to be lifelong politicians because back then they knew that the government doesn't make anything; it only takes and distributes. So it's, we need a strong military to protect us, which it doesn't seem like we're protecting Americans as much as we used to. But then we also need, we need like the social net. But that's where I guess it gets confusing, because there's so many social programs that are good.
Well, yeah, I mean, Social Security, Medicare.
Yeah.
But if this spending spree takes place and a bunch of other governmental controls occur because of it, they're going to impact Medicare, for example. I perceive what they'll do to help curb Medicare costs or limit the drug selections that individuals may have because of cost of medicines, and the government's going to say, no, we're not going to spend that much money on that.
Yeah.
But this drug that is doesn't have the efficacy as the drug that really works, that's cheaper. It may have some side effects, but we're going to do that one. Or if they're going to determine how many days a person can stay in the hospital, for example, if they have a certain illness.
Yeah.
Like you had brain surgery. Okay, that's a 12-hour stay. And
hey, whenever government and medicine get in bed, you get Dr. Fauci.
I've had 2 brain surgeries, as you know, and I was in the hospital for 1 day.
You are a beast.
Well, yeah,
Or they were just like, get out of
they
here.
actually, believe it or not, the first
Get outta
the
here.
first brain surgery, I was up and at 'em at like 4:00 in the morning, and they wheeled me to MRI. They wanted to do a scan to see if everything was okay.
Yeah.
And they were trying to lift me. They were getting ready to lift me over to the MRI table, and I said, "I can get over there." And they looked back and they said, "Let us help." I said,
Yeah.
"No, look, let me." And I just hopped over to the bed.
You tell them it's not like you operated on my arm.
It's my brain. And 3 months later, I had my second brain surgery, and when they wheeled me, on that first brain surgery, after they did the MRI, they released me. I was out of the hospital. I'd never left intensive care. I wasn't discharged from an operating room. They just operated me, put me in intensive care, took the MRI, and
Escorted you to the door.
They escorted me to the door. They said, "You're doing so good."
Huh.
And they said, "That's not the norm."
Yeah.
And then 3 months later, I had the second brain surgery, and again, when they wheeled me down to the MRI room, those people in there remembered me being a tough old dude, because I'm old.
And they were like, "Hey, get up, jump on that
Yeah,
MRI."
get up,
and you were
get
like,
up.
"Wait a second, I don't feel too good."
That brain surgery was a little more. It hurt, but I still got up to do it. But anyway, I can see. I'm afraid government limiting Medicare, for example, what people can actually get, drugs, things of that nature.
Man.
I think that the way they're going to try and outlaw fossil fuels. Why is it that Russia gets to build a pipeline to Germany and we can't build a pipeline in the United States?
Because
That makes
still-
no sense.
because they're still an emerging market and they need more because they don't have as much as we do.
Well, okay, Karl Marx Jr.
I know. Well, that's where this is all coming from. If you would have listened 6 episodes ago when we talked about Marx,
I know.
that's the blueprint. We need to
it's-
talk about happy stuff. I thought we were going to be happy this time. Because last time...
Well, I'm pretty happy talking about this stuff.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
It's what's really sad is that in regards to this tax and spending spree that they're considering right now.
Yeah. It's all part of the plan.
There's some Democrats in there Democratic senators, for example, that are saying that they could not vote for that $5 trillion package.
Yeah.
They just can't spend that kind of money. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like Joe Manchin, Kristen Sinema, I think, from Arizona. There are 2 Democratic senators that are saying no. I
Think something bad's gonna happen to them?
either they're going to have concrete shoes, or they're
That
going to be
doesn't
promised. They're going to be promised so much stuff for their particular state
Yeah.
that they're going to say, "Well, yeah, we have to do the deal," and then West Virginia and Arizona get this monstrous
Well, that's
load of cash, and
this sounds more and more like the mafia than the federal government.
God, it does, doesn't it? Back when they,
From what I've
when-
read, I don't know. I've never worked in the mafia
I can remember
or
it was,
been involved with them.
Senator Cassidy when they
Oh wait, yeah.
when they signed or the last $1 trillion infrastructure
Do
bill.
you call him a turncoat? What do you call him? Is that the right word?
Well, I don't think we could say it, and they would allow us to put. I used to think
Oh,
highly of Senator
What is a
Cassidy,
turncoat?
but someone that presents himself one way and then does something completely different.
Yeah, I think
is
that's
a little-
what he is.
Pretty much what he's done, and when he voted for that infrastructure bill.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And he comes back here and he's bragging about the fact that Louisiana got $5 billion, and I was thinking, $5 billion out of $1 trillion? We got shortchanged.
Yeah, but
That
that's
is not a great deal.
I know, and that's the thing. It's like, but that's
Oh, he was
not.
all giddy about it.
That's not what he's. I don't know. This like,
Oh, you think he was meaning something else?
no. I just think that I don't know.
I don't
He's
know.
he went.
He needs to
I
go
don't
back
know.
and just practice his medicine
I'm
because
not sure that he's even practicing. I don't know. I don't. I just find it odd that there's not any people out there for limited government, even on the.
well,
right
they
side.
are. They just don't.
Cassidy's not.
They're well, not Cassidy.
For sure. That's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
It's just.
It's like a.
What do you do?
It's like I say. I think that they ought to put term limits on the members of Congress, just as Congress put term limits on the executive branch.
Well, does that work? I mean,
Well, you get rid of the guy after 8 years.
yeah, but
or-
don't you just get somebody else in there that's doing the same crap?
Well,
Different last name.
Yeah, but the odds are at least some things have an opportunity to
Makes
change.
it more volatile.
You know, George Washington, there was no limit to the number of terms an individual could serve as president. George Washington, being the first president, set a lot of precedents. Not presidents, precedent.
As
And
the first
as the
president.
first president.
Right. That's
And
a
one of
precedent.
well, that's true. It was precedent making.
It was precedent.
Precedent making. And he decided after 2 terms he had had enough, and that was good because there were a lot of folks back at that time that were thinking that he should
Keep
be in
going.
that position until his death.
Well, that would be a king,
Well,
right?
that's
Kind of close to
kind of close. You know, they someone that was elected, but they thought that let President Washington be there
Yeah.
forever. So that people were not would not have been put off him running for a 3rd term.
Yeah.
But there were several things in play. He was tired of playing it. He was exhausted with all the politics that were starting to come to play in government, and he thought it would be just the right thing to do is to sever his tie as president, and so he set the precedent of being presidency of being a 2-term
Yeah.
office, and that it stayed that way until the 30s when Franklin Roosevelt ran and won 4 terms.
Broke the mold.
Ran and won 4 terms. He died very early in his 4th term, and that's why Truman basically had a almost 2-term presidency himself. And so, I believe that the only way that you're going to be able to curb the power-hungry aspect of what Congress and the Senate are now is that we should incorporate term limits, and that would be maybe 2 terms for a senator. That's 12 years, and maybe
Yeah. Well, I feel like it's going to be hard to even get there because the people that are there aren't going to vote that into existence. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they would if there was enough external pressure.
Right, but most people,
We did
I
here
would
with
say,
you.
yeah, but I would say most people don't care and they don't follow it.
No,
that much.
actually, I think people care because I think across the country, Congress, which includes the Senate,
Yeah.
they are so disliked by the population. And you can talk to every.
Yeah.
I really don't like Congress, and that's the way
Yeah.
And then you say, well, if you want things to change, why don't you vote for a new congressperson?
Right.
Well, I like my congressperson. It's those other states that have all those
Yeah.
crazy congresspeople, and so that's the problem that we've got is people do not like Congress,
Yeah.
but they think that they've got the right person for their job.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunately not working for us, I don't believe anymore.
I wonder what happens to Cassidy. Is he got to run again?
I'm sure he'll try and run again. And I voted for the guy, but I can publicly say now, unless a communist is running against him, I'm not going to vote for him.
Well, I mean, isn't he kind of close? If he's if he just did the spin, because I mean, you know, communist is like I don't know. It's a loose word.
It's
Because if you've got people voting,
use the word liberal.
yeah, you call them whatever you want, but if you support that, that's where I don't like the actions of people is always louder than what they say. And so bringing back to the kid of me as a kid, I had heard that politicians will only tell you what they want to hear so they can get elected. And then once they get elected, they're going to do what their base or whatever, because it's a popularity contest. It's
what the money says.
yeah, and so you get people like I do happen to like Rand Paul. I feel like he's
Yeah, I like the way I like his comments. I just think that he goes about things very differently than the average. But I do like much of what he says.
yeah. I think that he's been the only one that's kind of held Dr. Fauci to task with some of the stuff that's happened with this last thing. I also like our other senator. Is it Kennedy?
Senator Kennedy.
God, that guy. He's a lot, I think, sharper than he lets on.
I want to have the volume of encyclopedia, whatever it is, that has all of his quips, because he's got so many different quips for every situation.
Right, and his parallels are just spot on usually and comical at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
But just grounded in a common sense logic where there's not. You can't spend more than you make.
Thank you.
That has never been the case in the history of man. And I don't understand if you're of the government and you don't create anything, and you could say you create infrastructure, but I mean, not really. You maybe you steward infrastructure.
You have to take the money from the people to create that.
Right, but so let's say they need a new bridge going over the river. Well, does the public of that state or area have to get together and say, okay, we need a new bridge, we got to raise the money. Who's got a good idea? How are we going to do this? Or is that something that somebody in Minnesota should be paying for the bridge in Texas? Or, you know what I'm saying? If it's interstate, because now we've got the interstate system, which, makes it really easy to travel around.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to maintain it.
Well,
And that's really tough.
In colonial days, in colonial America, when a community needed something, say they wanted to build a bridge,
Yeah.
most times they would have a lottery, and people would buy tickets Because there was this is a lottery to build the bridge in Salem, Massachusetts. And so they, the people in the surrounding area would all purchase lottery tickets, and then they'd have a lottery winner, and then they'd have the money to also build the bridge. Which is kind of like the Louisiana Lottery today, because Louisiana Lottery sells. The essence is what I'm trying to say is that
Supposedly, that's just a tax on the.
it's a regressive tax. It is a tax on everybody, but particularly the people who buy the most tickets,
Participate.
because they're paying the same amount as someone that makes $750,000 a year.
I know.
So they're spending more of their money in the lottery than a guy that's only making $750. But
Right.
what happens in Louisiana, for example, is that 35% of its annual income goes back to the state.
35% of the
35%
annual
of the
Louisiana lottery.
Louisiana
Okay.
lottery.
And is that state specific? Is that comparable? Do most states kind of have that kind
No,
of setup?
other states have different different
Yeah,
setups.
yeah.
It just kind of depends.
Gotcha.
And
That's a good bit of money.
it is a good bit of money.
Yeah.
Say if they're making $500 million a year. 35% of that is a pretty good chunk of change.
Yeah.
Then they operate off of about 10%,
Uh-huh.
and then the remaining
Pays out for
50% pays out all the money as winnings.
Yeah.
So the state gets their share, they get a share to operate the business from, and then there's money for the prizes.
Yeah.
And that's the way it was back even in colonial days. When they wanted a community project, they usually had a lottery,
Yeah.
and sold tickets for that particular thing. Not that I support lotteries, but the reality is, the people have always been involved in getting whatever they needed done.
Right.
And now we have
Now we have taxes and the lottery.
taxes and the lottery. And when you think about the taxes, I won't be surprised if they get the average individual is going to be paying more than 50% of their income in taxes.
Right now it's about 30%.
Well,
Right.
But if you add this $5 trillion spending package,
So
with
50
all the
cents out
prices
of
that
every
go up,
dollar goes to the federal
federal or
government.
state, local.
Unless you don't make that, and then you actually get paid in the form of, what's it called?
Gold.
No. Hey, if you just get, if you get a tax credit, because you're under a certain income. I mean,
Oh,
there's
I
like,
see what you're saying.
there's it's a system, and then there's people playing the system, and I'm not gonna say that I wasn't a participant in
Oh,
playing
let me
the
ask you-
system at one point.
Let
but
me ask you this question.
now I realize like the system is gonna break.
This struck me the other day. I don't know what I forgot what is the average Social Security check. I don't know what it is. $1,200 a month. I don't know what it is that goes out to somebody.
Okay.
If they want to pay people $15 an hour, $15 an hour times $2,000 is $30,000. All right. If they say that is unlivable,
I see where you're going.
why do they pay their Social Security recipients $1,200 a month, which ends up being about $14,000 a year? So Social Security individuals can live on $14,000 a year, but the adult that is in the working
Capable of doing
capable
much.
of we say that a minimum they should get $15 an hour.
I don't know.
So I don't, something's wrong there. That's not right.
I feel like there's so many things that it's almost unbearable. There's too many things wrong everywhere.
Well,
Sometimes I feel like it's like a scatter shot. Like I'm just everywhere I look. It's like,
we live in a broken world.
That's a horrible.
We live in a broken world, and we have to recognize that with the broken world, there are a lot of problems. And so the essence of our belief and our faith is that we work through every day, and we don't become discouraged because we're constantly being hit in the face with this or that. We have faith enough to know that our God in heaven is loving us and is there with us, and that our eternity is made sure. And so, even though there are bad things happening all the time, we need to recognize that we are so blessed still living in the country that we have, and that we should be thankful for that and work toward preventing things like a $5 trillion spending plan.
Well, we've gotten to a point, 2021, you kind of know what systems don't work. And it's really obvious that we got to this point of where, just for instance, all the people that want to come here, because they've had such a hard time in Central and South America, that now that they're coming, they're still wanting to come here, which I don't understand why there's not a bunch of Canadians trying to get over here, because it seems like it's cold and they've got a pretty strict government. I don't know, they're doing all the shutting down all the.
They have a pretty liberal government.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of people I know
Australia has a very liberal government too.
They've gotten
they've become real ultra liberal.
Some of the things that I've seen lately out of Australia scare the bejesus out of me.
I used to say, hey, we can move to Australia. Not anymore, you can't.
Man,
Man,
it's a mess. They got the New World Order spokesperson lady down there. They've got they're gonna make it you can't go anywhere unless you got your green pass.
oh,
They're gonna they've got there's riots in the streets right now over this it's falling apart.
well, I haven't paid that much attention to Australia.
I did, because
Obviously, you were thinking of moving there.
well, no, I mean, I've always thought that would be a fun place to go.
Well, I
Oh,
always
now-
wanted to visit, but I don't want to do that anymore.
I don't ever want to get close to that place now.
Yeah, plus-
After some of the stuff I've seen, it seems like it's a hard. They were tracking this guy. This guy goes into his elevator. There's security footage of him, and he sneezes, and then he leaves, and they can't find him. So they put out an APB on him because he's a known positive COVID case.
And he sneezed in the elevator?
He sneezed in the elevator and he didn't have a mask on, and so they posted him like a Crime Stoppers thing on their news, and they were looking for him.
Did they ever find him?
They may have found him. I don't know. I just saw I saw the report.
Now he's a felon. He's a felon for sneezing.
Yeah, well, and because he left his residence. No, he left his residence. Like you're locked down. You can't go anywhere. They're now taking away the alcohol from
Australians?
from the people. They're only allowing them a certain amount of. I would say do your own research, but some of the things that I've seen, it's scary. There was a soccer player who left his place. He got stopped by the Gestapo, and they said, where are you going? He was like, I'm going just to help my friend move. Well, then they find him like in another town, and so he lied. So then they were trying to figure out like what laws he broke. It's just,
Oh, Lord.
yeah, it's gotten out of hand. I'm telling you, these
That sounds Nazi.
everything
Jeez.
everything that I'm hearing about as far as this whole COVID world.
Well, it's things like that.
It's scaring the crap out of me.
And it makes us all, we should all be aware that these little whittling away of liberties.
Hey, you can't go to a football game without your papers.
Yeah, no.
You know what I did? I took a picture of the my little pocket Declaration of Independence, and that's my papers. So if somebody says, you got your papers? I'm like, that's my papers.
I'll come bail you out.
I know.
Well, I'll be wearing a mask.
The problem is, unless everybody refuses to participate and does not comply, this is going to go on until all your freedoms are gone.
See, I have been
That's it.
vaccinated. I've been vaccinated, but I did that mainly because I wanted to protect myself and my brain.
Yeah. And there's,
But it doesn't
that's
bother
awesome.
me if someone doesn't want to get vaccinated. If they don't want to get vaccinated, then that's...
But you know what the problem is? The problem is people that believe the vaccinations are good, and they and if you're of a certain position where you would greatly benefit from having it, you should definitely consider doing it. The people that believe that also believe that they're not afraid of somebody that's unvaccinated because they're vaccinated, because that's the logical track. So people that think those two things, which you do, you say you do. So you're my demographic. It's people like you that, or there's not enough people like you, like-minded, that are willing to stand up to the tyranny against the unvaccinated. Because if somebody's unvaccinated,
that's insane, yeah.
you know, because, and then if you talk to somebody in the medical community, they're pissed at the unvaccinated, because to them it's the unvaccinated that are putting strains on the hospitals now, not the short-staffed, you know, position that the hospital's in. And I got a question about this: aren't hospitals always at capacity? Because isn't it a business? They don't want an empty hospital ever, right?
Well, it's true, but there's a service level.
Well,
they have
that's-
enough employees to cover a certain number of beds.
Have you been to a restaurant lately?
No, because there's nobody working there.
My point exactly. If you go to a hospital and you don't have anybody working, you can have 10 beds, and you're like, well, that bed's open.
Yeah, but
Well, we can't. We don't have a nurse.
Don't have it.
That's
Someone
going
take
to work on you.
that's why they've been pulling in the National Guard to a lot of hospitals. And,
I know, but so is the problem the unvaccinated, or is the problem staffing? Or is it
it's probably a combo deal.
Yeah.
But I have been seeing more reports that most of the patients that they're seeing today, the bulk of the patients that they see today, are unvaccinated.
True.
So,
Which I would.
well, you know,
Well,
but you know,
yeah.
we have we have our regular flu, and I always get the flu shot every year.
Mm-hmm.
But I know people who don't get the flu shot every year.
Yep.
And I'm not afraid of the person that didn't get the flu shot every year, because I got my flu shot.
Yeah. And you can still go.
And I can still get it.
You can still go to a game without your flu shot.
Yeah,
You can
Yeah.
still participate in commerce
because
without your flu shot.
So,
So they haven't shut down. There was reports on. There was a grocery store in France where they wouldn't let people in if they didn't have their vaccination cards.
oh wow! So you can't buy food.
Which, yeah.
Wow.
And that was a report, and I saw the video, and it was all in French. So my French is really sad. But, and it might have been, just like
Bible.
it might have been a BS news story.
Je
And-
m'appelle Kip.
Comment s'appelles-tu? That was the question. Yeah. Quel âge as-tu?
Clutch, clutch.
Escape from the prison planet.
You know, we have been talking for a long time. Probably, probably 63 minutes longer than anybody wanted us to.
The
stop.
time got away from me. I was just about to get into something though.
Oh, I'm glad I'm stopping you. I'm glad I'm stopping you, because for me it may be brain overload,
Yeah, probably so.
and it could be stuff could start pouring out of my.
You know what I
hole in
wanted
my
to talk
head.
to you about though?
Oh, hit me.
My generator. Spark plug. That was the problem. Anyway, maybe we can talk about that next time.
You replaced your spark plug?
I did. I took it out and it looked like it was bad.
Well, you have an air cooled generator.
No, it's
You have liquid cool. Oh,
No.
You have one of those portable ones.
yeah, just a portable.
Oh yeah, well that's
It's
like a
5,000
lawnmower engine.
5,000 watt. I know.
And so you have to change the spark plug on that thing every once in a while.
13 years.
You have it for 13 years. Well, you know,
I was like, this damn thing ain't running.
I think Jesus.
And then I was talking to a buddy, and I was telling him, I was like, I took the carburetor apart. If I took it apart one time, I took it apart 6 times. Clean that sucker with a can of carburetor cleaner, air compressor. Like it's I could eat out of it. But, and he was like, you change the spark plug? I was like, huh.
You know,
I didn't even think about it. It's like, man, it's $2.
if you run it during the year, and you know you're supposed to test it every month, just to
Oh,
just
yeah,
let
yeah.
it run for a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
So if you do that, you ought to change your spark. Well, now
don't
you got
know.
a history. You're supposed. I always change my spark plugs on my lawnmower, and
You want to change
every
them.
year.
You want to change them. I would say that might be a little much, but you definitely want to change it before 13 years.
I change them on my generator. I have a liquid cooled generator, and it's
Okay.
a 4-cylinder automobile engine, really.
Yeah,
And we change the spark plugs on that every year.
yeah. Well,
I don't do it. Someone else
Yeah.
does it because
I'm learning. That's what,
I'm
and
not
that's
an auto mechanic.
and that's the thing I was talking to a buddy about. I've been, I'll get online and I'll start reading stuff about every news and all the politics, and I just get wrapped up in it so much that I told him that sometimes you feel so helpless because there's not a lot you can do. So that's when I started focusing on my generator. I got.
Well, then it wouldn't start.
I'm gonna get into some small engine repair. I'm
I
tired
always
of
thought that
messing
would have
around.
been kind of fun. Just not kind of relaxing. Just
Yeah.
work at a hardware store and
Just
do small
tinker.
engine repair.
Yeah,
That
because you need those little small engines.
you
But
really do.
everybody's, what are we gonna have? Is everything gonna go to lithium battery? I don't know.
I just cannot believe that we're going to be able to go all electric on vehicles. What are they going to build new? Where are they building the new power plants that are going to serve the increase of electrical?
Hopefully, people will figure out nuclear. That's my answer.
I
to
wish we could
everything.
do fusion rather than fission. That would be that's if we could do fusion, that would be an end all to end all.
There's alien technology out there. They're probably already ready to do it.
There are no aliens out there. There
You
may
say
be.
so,
There
but
may,
look up
I have
Bob Lazar.
But
Look it up.
If I have no doubt with the 200 billion galaxies that exist out in the world, in the universe, that there is life in other places. But
You don't think
just-
they'd come here?
I don't believe they would come here.
But if there's a parallel universe,
Now, I do believe in dimensions.
ah,
I do believe that, for example,
yeah,
there's radio and TV waves. We
Yeah.
know because we have the
Yeah.
mechanics to receive
yeah,
that, but they're going through us right now.
yeah,
I have no doubt that there are probably dimensions beyond what you and I exist in.
yeah.
And that, I think, that's where something could possibly be interacting. But I don't think it's somebody from our universe that's traveling.
Did you ever see Quantum Leap?
You know,
I kinda
you're
remember
quoting.
that show.
I mean, you'd say, look up Bob Lazar, Quantum Leap.
All these things
all
have
these scientific.
Yeah.
I-
That's
I-
what's,
my
that's what's wrong
argument-
with me.
My argument is it's a multi-dimensional thing. It has nothing to do with life or some beings having technology that goes at the speed of light. Heck, the speed of light. Light from the North Star is constant, and
Right.
it takes around 750 years for light that we see tonight to have arrived
Right.
tonight. And that's if it traveled at 186,000 miles per second. Every bit of the journey.
Yeah.
And I just don't.
Which there might be parts of the universe it goes through that it travels faster than that. We don't know.
That's true for us.
We're just making
we
an
believe that
estimated
the
guess.
fastest thing is light, and it's 186,000 miles per second.
And that's only because the capability of the earthly human brain is only at certain. It hasn't been completely open to.
And can you
Maybe.
imagine if you and I are in a spacecraft going 186,000 miles per second, and all of a sudden you wanted to make a right turn?
But that's the thing.
You're going to be jelly.
I know, but it doesn't. No, because there's no. You don't have the inertia, gravity.
You don't?
No.
Physics is physics wherever you are, even in a vacuum of space.
Have you seen Beam Me Up, Scotty?
I guess the next one that you're going to quote is that Giorgio Tsoukalos.
I don't know that one.
Oh, you know, he's the guy that does that Ancient Aliens thing. He has his hair all poofed out.
He is a masterpiece. I do know who you're talking about.
He's a quotable.
He's on there.
He's
He's
with you.
He's on some stuff.
He's with you.
I watched. I do enjoy watching because some of the things are just it's really hard to explain. It's hard to explain away.
Plus,
Maybe
I
not.
also believe that our military has things that we have absolutely no idea.
Fusion.
Fusion could be part of it.
I bet they do.
Because I'm sure that there are things
Was it
like
like
50 years from now,
negative propulsion?
if we were still living,
You ever heard that?
Negative-
It's not
negative propulsion?
What- It's like whatever. You're using
you're
the
sucking it up.
space. You're using space and time to propel. Like you're not using.
Wow, I'm gonna have to look that one up.
I might be making that word up,
That
but it's the propulsion system which helps the alien spacecraft.
travel faster than 186.
Yeah, because have you seen the they just released it right after the election to they were trying to get everybody's attention off how idiotic Biden was, so they released all this alien technology, all the Air Force videos and all these spacecraft that just can't be explained. And so the problem was people weren't paying attention enough. There was a comedian the other day that said, he's like, what a messed up world it is whenever the government's like, oh, hey, and we got these alien spacecrafts, and people are like, that's not that big a deal.
That's because they don't believe it. They believe it might be a interdimensional thing.
And there's video footage.
The second dimension, you got the first dimension, second
Right.
dimension, third dimension,
And then one
fourth
thing
dimension.
like just like shoots into the water. That's pretty. It's so. I
See,
think
now things like that, I believe, could be part of something our military is doing.
that's the stuff that
But I don't think it has anything to do with it.
was talking about.
But I don't think anything that our military is doing is connected to anything that's because of an alien civilization shared with us.
No, they didn't share it. They wrecked.
Well,
Or they got shot down. Maybe I don't know.
okay.
Who knows?
Another thing. You know, all these aliens contacted our ancestors 4,000, 5,000 years ago. How come they haven't come and talked to anybody since?
What if God was an astronaut?
I'm going to move further away from you because I think lightning.
No, I'm not. I'm throwing the questions out. I'm just spitballing.
Well, don't spitball that one.
No, I know. Because that's one of the things that, yeah.
You know, we probably have bored people to death now for much longer than they wanted.
I know. This is, I'm glad that we can sit here and talk for an hour.
For an hour, and people say, what do those people do for a living? They
Yeah.
must be part of the 1%.
We're like politicians.
It's
Yeah. I'm the world's poorest philanthropist out there.
Yeah, but
because I can't.
when our international headquarters is complete, imagine the
Yeah.
magnitude, the income.
We're gonna try to make we're gonna try to make this world better.
It's going to be interesting.
And that's the thing. I think that's the point. Everybody should try to make the world a better place than where they found it.
That would be nice.
Yeah. And
recognize that we're all in this together.
yep. And everybody should love their kids more.
Oh yeah, definitely hug the kids.
Love them.
Love them, love them, love them, hug them. And the grandkids. Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
love those grandkids.
Yeah, those are fun because you can give them back. I hear. Because you're just like, all right, yeah.
I don't mind. I like to keep them. I like to keep them. That's
I know. I know. Yeah, it's weird when you see. It's weird people that just don't, that have the kids and they're just like. That's a whole thing.
That's another story.
Let's
I
talk.
think we
Yeah.
probably should say they've had enough.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.